What's up, it's Josh Hewitt, and once again I'm going to attempt to describe the indescribable. This is going to be another trip report. The day before yesterday I had my first 5-MeO DMT breakthrough experience, and it was amazing, as I expected. And in this video, again, it's for me to reflect on later. These experiences that are very profound life experiences for me, I journal them in a written journal, and I produce a video. Some of them I make public, some I don't. But this video I wanted to just talk about what the experience meant for me, what I got out of it, and also maybe a little bit of a comparison to my last DMT, the sort of regular DMT experience, which I still look at as the most profound, intense, overwhelming experience in my life. I'll put a link to that somewhere here on the screen and down below as well, if people want to look at that. But the 5-MeO DMT experience was very different. There are some similarities, of course, related to being very overwhelming and intense, although this was very different. As far as the intensity, it was completely saturating, completely like a complete ego disintegration, a complete loss of sense of self and integration into the universal self or consciousness, if you would. But it was gentler. I guess I could say it was gentler. I felt it was not as smacking you in the face as my first DMT experience was. But it was still pretty amazing, and it's going to be even more challenging for me to put words into this, because there was not as much visual lead up to the breakthrough part of the experience. It was like it just put you there. So let me start from the start. I was sort of referred by the person who had guided me through my first DMT experience. And we spoke because there was an individual in town who was guiding people through with the 5-MeO, the toad medicine. I had also read about it, and I had saw Leo on actualize.org talk about it, and watched several other videos, and I had been forwarded information about it spontaneously, and I believe in, like, with synchronicity, once you start resonating at a certain wavelength and you put that energy out, it comes back to you, and things were really lining up to say that this was a path that I was going to go down. And I signed up, had a really good conversation with the guy. I'll call him the guide for the 5-MeO, and it felt really right, really good. But I was having a lot of anticipation and pre-flight jitters, and I was really working myself up around this. I really got into my head about this beforehand because of the intensity of my DMT experience. I had always known I wanted to go back, because I felt like there was more, or at least I wanted to revisit it, or now that I knew sort of what to expect with the trip into it, what was going to be like, I could let go even more, surrender even further. But I had put in my head that I had to achieve a certain number of things to be ready for that, like meditate to a certain point and go to these 10-day retreats and do a lot of breath work, and then I could fully release. And that's nothing wrong with that, and that could potentially help you have a better experience for sure. But this is something that a lot of people and myself tend to do, is when we want to have an awakening or an increased awareness or an elevation of our consciousness, or a realization of unity, consciousness that we are all one, and sort of a letting go of the ego and all the noise that goes on, so we can just really be present and aware, which I guess enlightenment is what some people call it, although I don't even know what that means anymore. Like I've let go of the goals of achieving something around this. I just want to be here and now, awake and aware, and live life fully. So whatever that means. But I digress. So there's a lot of emotions and thoughts and that come up as I'm integrating this experience, and so I may digress slightly and diverge and hit some tangents related to this. But let's get right to the experience. So on the day of, the night before, I didn't sleep that well because I was having a lot of dreams of what the experience might be like, and I was actually going into like imagining or dreaming of going into the void and coming out, and it was pretty awesome night before, actually, strangely enough. But then the day of, I just arrived at the location early and sat in the car and listened to some guided breath work and meditation. Just got myself centered in the now, and I went up, and as soon as I met the guide, and we talked for a few minutes, it was great. Somehow he was able to, after I talked a little bit about where I was at and why I was here, he was able to read a few things that tuned right in to what I was thinking about, talked a little bit about the medicine, and he said, nothing is in this pipe but pure love. And what you do with that is wherever it takes you, that's your thing. But only responsibility I had was to breathe it in, and hold it in, and then it's a release and nothing else to do at all. So that was pretty liberating, and he's right. Once you met your part of breathing it in, the only thing to do is surrender, and completely let go. But even that isn't a to-do. You don't do surrender. It's just a doing of nothing. So it's actually a complete. It's one of the few times. It's the only time I can really relate to that you actually do nothing. You actually just be. There's nothing to do. You don't even I'm going to try to let go. Oh, now I release and relax and surrender. No, that's even a doing. So I don't know if this makes sense, but you actually there's nothing. You do nothing. The medicine takes you to oneness, so you are everything and nothing, and fortunately we get to come back to this physical experience and look at it from that perspective of having been where we come from, sort of. But let me describe right before going into it. So it was great that he let us try a little bit of a sample of the medicine in a smaller amount beforehand, so we could feel the sensations in the body. And then once you had that feeling, this is where it's taking me. And I was somewhat familiar with that from the DMT. It was similar sort of washing over feeling of just the pulsing in the body and the sort of flowing away from the quieting of your mind and the sort of stilling. Everything became very still, and it definitely overtakes you, but I was so welcoming of it, and I just had in my mind, this is just love. And whatever happens, even if it feels like this is too overwhelming, you're there. You end up where it takes you anyway, and it's all good. And while he was getting the full dose ready in a pipe, I just put it out there to the universe that I invite the medicine to show me, to take me there, gently bring me back. I invite it. I completely surrender. I just put it out there more for myself to just say I'm here and for it. And then I did breathe it in, and you have to breathe it in very slowly it's a small pipe to make sure that as it's being heated, all of it is dissolving and being taken in, and you just then you hold it in, and you can feel it starting to wash over you. And I can hear him in the background, but my eyes might have closed, but I couldn't see anything anymore. And I just see this white light just take over. And then it felt like a wash of, like he described it as a waterfall, but it felt like just a surge of energy and light just flows through you, completely washes over you and overwhelms you, and you just wash with it to the point where you become part of that flow of intense light, love, energy of just everything that is. And whatever sense of who I thought I was in that moment is just, there's no semblance or recognition of myself in that moment anymore. And it's just within seconds, this just washes over you, and who I am just washed away with it, to the point where I'm just in that white, powerful, intense flow of energy and light, and then gone. Just and no visuals from that after that. Just that light, white, overwhelming pulse of energy and vibration, and nothing. So for all intents and purposes, as far as my conscious mind goes and my memory, I was out cold. I was knocked out. I was gone to the world. Although, coming back, I have this intent, this very clear awareness or realization of that's what it is. That's what it all is about. So again, this is really hard to describe, but for myself watching this later, I'm going to get it. I'll be, yeah, I remember that feeling, that I remember the awareness, I remember this. And that's all this is about for me, is now that I've had that, or been with it, or I am it, just keep reminding myself. And this is one of those tools. For those of you who are searching, this might be something that will resonate with you, or if you've had the experience, this might be a reminder for you as well. It seemed like for an eternity, there's no time, no perception of time. And what happened next is actually really interesting, because I had no recollection of this when I was first recording the video. I'm actually just adding this in now because it came to me last night as in a flashback, or like a very powerful recall that I had no recollection of, no memory of, until I woke up from my sleep and just had this strong visual memory of myself sitting up from when I came back to awareness, and just chanting, or just aggressively channeling the word love, 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 love. Like I had all of this energy just surging through me that was love, and I had to just not so much get it out, but move it through me. I had to get that energy moving out or through, and that just came to me like, whoa, I was completely out of my consciousness, because after I vented that, and it didn't feel like I was even saying the words, it was like it was coming through me and it was vibrating, and it was still very surreal. Like, it feels now, even thinking of it, it was like a dream. And then right after, I was like, I got that out, love, just right back down on the mat and completely spent. But all I remember with intellectually after that is having a sense of being in the room and feeling the pulsing in the body, and that white, just that pure energy light just still overwhelming me as I was coming back into awareness of my physical reality. And one of the first words I'm saying is, I just want to love more. I just felt this feeling like, just want to love. I just want to feel love and give love and just be part of love. And that felt pretty awesome. And that's how I feel. Why not? Fuck. Love is awesome, right? And then as I started to become more aware and was able to feel my body move around, I just started laughing, like just deep belly laughter just overtook me, like the most authentic, I don't know, intense laughter I've ever felt in my life. I was just like, oh God. And tearing up, my eyes were just watering, and my stomach hurt so hard. I was laughing for like 5 minutes, just like, and I was holding my midsection, rolling on the floor, and I looked over at the guide, and still, things were a little bit, my senses were still coming in, so I looked at him, and he's sitting very calmly, but he's like nodding. He's just smiling. He's like, right? I was hitting the floor. Man, it was like, and I don't know what the joke was as far as putting words to it, but I just felt like, this is fucking hilarious. And then I looked at him and I said, so that's it, right? And then I said, well, and he says, that's it. And I said, well, that's already what it is. It's always been that. And I'm already there. So what? And we all already can know this. So what is this? What is this whole thing that we're doing to get to that? Like, it's just, and just even now it's fucking hilarious, man. Because I go through so many fucking head trips and the tools and the journeying and the reading which is all great. It's awesome. It's awesome. Play the intellectual things and work with your body, move your energy, get in there and mix it up. We're in this physical experience, but you don't have to. It's not like there's the steps to get there. You just be there. Like, we're already, if we just let go of all that shit and just wiped it all and just let that get quiet and we're just right here and just quieted this and opened this. Breathe, be present, you're there. And you're like, oh, this is okay. I'm awake, I'm aware, I'm here. Fuck. That's it. Now what? Well, like the Buddha said, before enlightenment, you chop wood and gather water. And after enlightenment, you chop wood and gather water, right? But now you know what you're doing, and you know why, and you can look at it completely differently. You have that perspective from your self. We're all connected. All of the same realizations I had from my first DMT breakthrough experience were there. Without the visual rigmarole jettisoning me up to that point. And if you were to look at this in terms of chakras, like energy centers in the body and moving up through those, and up through, you're opening your heart chakra, up through, and then your third eye gets you to see more clearly the spiritual dimensions, and then up through your crown chakra, which is connecting you to the oneness of all, which the guide who was with me described it as unity consciousness, and I've always thought of it as universal consciousness, and some people talk about it as source energy, the source of all that we are all part of, always are part of, always go to, come back from, and are with right now, even in this dense physical reality, duality reality, basically. It all comes from that unity, that oneness. So we are always one with that oneness. even expressing it in this denser version of physical reality, which has that duality of you and me, and black and white, and dark and light, but all of that duality always still comes back to unity. And I can put all the words in there, and they're all written down in books and stuff too, but it just makes sense. And if you can just, the more you over-intellectualize it, at least for me, thinking and reading, putting all the words in there, it may be good signposts to get you to that place. But then it can distract you from it too. Eventually you need to wash all that out of the way. Overthinking doesn't get you there. Anyway, it's just is amazing. But here's a really weird thing for me around this 5-MeO experience that makes sense to me, but when I think about it, it's odd. In that this was an incredibly profound awakening experience that was intense. 5-MeO was apparently like several times, 5 times stronger as far as the chemically, the neurotransmitters, whatever, than DMT. But it was also incredibly underwhelming at the same time. Does that make sense? It was like, I became one with everything and nothing at the same time. I was in the void, which is emptiness, but encompassed everything that exists, that ever is and was and will be at the same time, which made total, that's how it is. Whether that makes sense now that you put words on it or not. But it was also like, that's what it is. I came back, was like, that's the big, and then I was laughing my ass off, and I was like, give me a hug, and laughing and patting him in the back, and he's like, I'm so glad I got to share this with you, and I'm so glad you got the cosmic joke. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you got it, the cosmic you get. And I was like, yeah, I build this up to be like, we're searching for what already is. We want to become what we already are, really, at our essence. We build up all this, take all this stuff onto us, only to realize we have to let it all go and shed it to be who we already are at our essence and our core, our authentic self, our, if you want to call it your soul or your spirit or your consciousness or whatever, put words on it. That's fine. It's definitely worthwhile, if you feel a calling, to invite yourself to wake up, to open yourself to increased awareness, to allow yourself to be present in the moment, to let yourself love more. And when you feel suffering and the shit associated with that, that's maybe telling you that something's not lining up. The way I look at it is, it's a game. We're here playing a game. It's an important game, but it's not that serious, you know? Don't take it so goddamn seriously. It can be very important. You can do some really deep, meaningful things here. And, but laugh, man. Fuck. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the ride. We're here. And if you're called, once you start to become more awake and aware, if you're called to serve others also along the way, do that from a place from your heart, authentically. For me, I have a tendency to want to fix people. I'm a trainer, I work in the fitness industry, and so a lot of that comes from my ego wanting to be like, oh, I'm the fixer. But if that can come from a deeper place, then you can really, I believe you can really help others have that be there too. And that's, we're all connected, right? We all come from one, so the more we can elevate, even just working on yourself first is the first step to healing the world. This is probably another long video and a lot of words to describe something that there are no words for. And I'm hoping some people will watch it and something will just like, oh, it doesn't make sense maybe intellectually, but it just makes sense. And other people watch this probably and be like, wow, man, he's getting weirder and weirder. So whatever it does for you, man, hope you're entertained. One other comparison I would make, and to wrap it up, for the DMT, NN-DMT, regular DMT, related to versus the 5-MeO, is the NN-DMT is much more visual, just like there's a whole light show and opening of your third eye, I guess, or your perception of other realities along the way to hopefully, if you're able to let go and fully surrender and you got in enough of the medicine, to hopefully have a breakthrough. And if you watch my video, I described, and I had a point where I don't have any words for it. I just became like blended into the energy, and I don't remember anything. And I didn't know what to make of that now, but it makes sense totally now that that's what was happening. Is just what with the 5-MeO, it puts you right there. So it bypasses the whole up the chain and seeing and like, oh, and if you get in enough of the medicine and you are in a place to let go, fully release and surrender, because you could fight it probably and still have an experience, but perhaps you don't have that complete let go of your ego and just becoming one. But it can still be profound for you, although having that oneness, that unity, that connectedness, that's being part of the source, I think has such value. Once you've had that, finding ways through breath work, meditation, and movement to remind yourself of it. And for me, that's going to be, I'm just going to find what feels right for me and brings on that connection again. Everything's different, but it's so weird, and that it comes around to being how it is anyway. It is what it is kind of thing. And from all of the complicated rigmarole to kind of get there, it's like, I'm already here. And it's like, from all the complexities, it's so simple. It's so simple. It's just so simple. So, is it fun to read and to explore the dimensional realities and to talk to entities? It's great. I mean, go for it. I think that's great. I would even be more into that. But it's not necessarily the answer, or you know what I mean? It can sort of open your mind to some things, but it's beyond the mind is where that universal consciousness comes from. So one thing I would just say is if you are doing DMT and NDMT, I think is amazing. In fact, I kind of glad I did that first. There's some cool, it's good fun to explore, but if you really want that, just to have that awareness of that simplicity of this is what it is. It's beyond that. It's past anything you can see or feel or touch or read or intellectualize. And be open to that, that's all. I love you. Thank you for watching. I just spilled what was in me and however it came out, and I'm hoping it's digested and integrated and received out there in the multiverse. Enjoy.